There's no question that the people of Bangladesh are very proud of their country. They're proud of the natural beauty of Bangladesh. They're proud of the history, proud of the food and the culture, and very proud of the language. And they're very proud of their liberation struggle back in 1971. I don't know much about the liberation struggle of Bangladesh, but I know a little bit, some of the basic facts. Bangladesh was part of India under the British, and when the British left in 1947, India was partitioned into India and Pakistan, made up of West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. Things didn't go so smoothly with the two Pakistans, and Bangladesh wanted to be independent, and they fought a war of independence in 1971 and became the sovereign independent country of Bangladesh, which we have today. I'm sure we'll learn a lot more inside the museum. Let's go check it out. Inside the museum yet. I've just been exploring the outside. They have an art display, an eternal flame, a jet hanging from the ceiling, and on this side, I almost missed it, but they have a helicopter as well. wondering if when I get to the ticket counter, they're going to look at my camera and say, no cameras allowed or something, which won't bother me that much, to be honest. But we'll find out what happens. I'm going to go buy my ticket now.
20 Dhaka.
20 Dhaka. So I think I have 20 Dhaka here. Thank you.
So this camera is not allowed.
It's not allowed? My visit to the Liberation War Museum is over, and I'm just sitting in their cafe having a cup of coffee. They even serve full meals here, so you could get a good lunch or a dinner here when you come to the museum. I mean, overall, it's a really good museum and well worth the effort of coming here. The displays are well put together, very creative, nicely organized. The facilities are air-conditioned, very spacious and airy, nice bathrooms. And most of the displays, almost all of them, in fact, have English captions and English translations for everything. And that makes it a great place to visit for foreigners. On the negative side, I was right with my prediction that they do not allow cameras inside the museum. It's a bit silly these days because everyone in the museum had a smartphone and they were all taking pictures of the exhibits and taking selfies. So taking a picture with your phone, taking a picture with a camera amounts to the same thing. But they have a rule on the books, no cameras, and they also have a rule, no bags, like no backpacks, which never works out well for a backpacker like me, because my backpack contains so many valuable items, everything I own that's valuable, I carry around with me. So leaving my bag at the front desk is a bit of a risk. It's not something I like to do. Having praised the museum, I should also point out that it is dedicated entirely to war, and a particularly brutal war based on everything that I saw in this museum. So you're not going to come out of this place feeling warm and fuzzy and feeling good about life and humanity. In fact, I don't know that I would bring children to this museum. Pretty much every display had huge blow-up photographs of dead bodies, bloody dead bodies that were shot, tortured, starving to death, decomposing. It's a pretty grim scene, to be honest, from beginning to end. And if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you might want to give this museum a miss. And as I said, I don't think I would bring children here. Too many explicit photographs, I think, for young people. I suppose I should say something about what I learned from my visit to the museum. I don't want to go too deeply into it because it's a complicated story, and of course it has a lot to do with politics, and I don't want to get into that. I'm not much of a political person. But there were some interesting aspects to the independence movement in Bangladesh that I thought were interesting. One is the role that language played. The government in Pakistan established Urdu as the national language. And people in East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, most of the people there spoke Bangla, and they protested against this policy. There were a lot of demonstrations, and they fought back, and eventually they won, and they established Bangla as another state language. And this fight for language rights kind of moved them into the full independence movement. Another side to the Liberation War was the role that students played. University students and university leaders played a key part in the entire independence movement here in Bangladesh. In fact, the current flag of Bangladesh was first raised at the campus of Dhaka University. The key importance of the student leaders can be seen in some of the Pakistani tactics. A very famous one is called Operation Searchlight, in which they set out to round up all of the leaders of the independence movement, and they focused heavily on the universities and the student leaders. One last thing I'll say about the museum and its displays is that they had one display on the international reaction to what was going on in Bangladesh at the time. I found that interesting because I was 8 years old in 1971 when the Liberation War took place, so I don't remember it happening, of course. I wasn't reading the newspapers when I was 8 years old, but people around the world were aware of it, particularly when all the disruption led to famine, and 10 million refugees fled from East Pakistan into India, largely Hindus that were escaping the Pakistani army. And a lot of the suffering, pictures of the suffering went out into the international media, and people became aware of it, and there were things like concerts to raise money for refugees and for people suffering in Bangladesh. George Harrison, one of the Beatles, performed at one of these concerts, Eric Clapton, people like that. It was something that I just didn't know about, wasn't aware of that kind of thing going on. There you have it, the Liberation War Museum in Dhaka. I highly recommend it to anyone who is in Dhaka for a holiday. And if you're coming out to the Passport and Immigration Office to get a visa extension or something like that, it's just down the block. So you can kill two birds with one stone, take care of your visa, come see this museum. As I said, it costs 20 taka, opens up at 10 o'clock in the morning. The only other things to be aware of is what I mentioned before. You can't bring a camera inside, but you can bring in your phone and take pictures with that, apparently. And you cannot bring a knapsack or any kind of bag inside either. And oddly enough, when you go to leave, they ask to see your ticket again. So make sure you hold on to your ticket. I had to smile at that because the ticket cost 20 taka, and the same woman who sold me the ticket and took my bag and told me about the camera restrictions, she was the same woman that was asking to see my ticket on my way out. I'm sure I was the only foreigner here all day, so it's not like she didn't remember me showing my ticket on the way in. But a rule is a rule, and the rule is you have to show your ticket on the way out. The bonus question for the last video was, what is the most powerful passport in the world? The answer is Japan. A Japanese passport allows you visa-free entry into 190 places. Singapore comes in at number 2. Third place is a tie between Germany, France, and South Korea. My Canadian passport gets me into 185 places. That puts Canada in 6th place. What about a Bangladesh passport? Unfortunately, the news isn't great. Bangladesh is 189th on the list, with easy access to only 39 countries. Bonus question for this video. In 1971, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Ravi Shankar, and other musicians put on 2 concerts in New York to raise awareness and money for refugees in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. The triple live album from those concerts won a Grammy Award in 1973. What was the name of that album? Put your answer in the comments below. Answer at the end of the next video. Here's a display after my own heart of all the many types of boats that were in use in Bangladesh. I recently had a bonus question about how many rivers there are in Bangladesh, and on this drawing you can see that the number 700 is not a far-fetched number. There are a lot of rivers in Bangladesh.